Hey guys, it's George and I've just come back from New Zealand, and I have to say, from a knitter's perspective, New Zealand is the most amazing place to visit. My God, the yarns from New Zealand are just incredible. So I was really fortunate that I was able to visit a couple of yarn stores and get a little bit of extra stuff for my stash, but I've been a big boy and I have chosen mostly some projects that the yarn will go towards, but sometimes, it's just like, oh, it's so nice and so squishy. What I have really discovered is possum yarn, and I was really funny when a knitting friend of mine here in Melbourne has made some really beautiful cowls with possum yarn, and I was always a bit funny about it because, like, possums here in Australia are considered like they're a native animal, and in photos they kind of look cute and fluffy and stuff, but really they're grumpy little turds. And certainly when I lived in Brisbane, which is in the north of Australia, my dog caught a few possums, and they're feral, horrible little things. But anyway, possums, I didn't realize that the fur is really quite warm, and they say that it's warmer than merino, warmer than alpaca, and lighter than alpaca. So I was genuinely surprised about that. Now, somebody did comment to me over the weekend that they were concerned that if they were using possum yarn, like how does the pelt get collected? And the point of the matter is that in New Zealand, somebody introduced possums to New Zealand, and they're not native, and they have no predators that kill them, which means that they've had carte blanche, and they have gone through and they have devastated the fauna and flora of New Zealand. So they are considered a feral pest, and for that reason they are culled, and that is how the pelts are come to be used for the industry. And it's a bit of a weighing up game, that they were originally introduced to New Zealand as for the fur industry, and it hasn't really taken off. So the question is, like, chicken and egg and all of that sort of stuff. But the point of the matter is, at the moment, they're causing havoc in New Zealand. So I'm okay if they're being culled, like, if they're being culled, and the fur shouldn't go to waste if they're being culled, and it does make really beautiful squidgy yarn. So this was one of my first purchases, a beautiful pooling yarn and a nice contrast to go together. So these are going into a cowl, and I got these from New Zealand Fabrics and Yarns, which is in Queen's Arcade in Auckland's downtown. And this is an amazing store. I came upon it by chance because, when you're in New Zealand, one of the big things that they always talk about is, you got to buy woolens, you got to buy merino. So I went to a couple of wool stores, and I was looking to buy yarn, and these wool stores were just selling machine knitted jumpers. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's have a look at the price, and picked out a nice, a decent solid jumper. It was $750 for a machine knitted jumper. I was like, fuck that shit, I'm buying my own. I'll buy my own wool and I'll bloody knit it myself. But $750 for a machine knitted jumper? So yeah, $750 for a machine knit? No. I'll knit that myself. Good luck with the tourist industry, but seriously, even in the airport yesterday, they had a beautiful, it was just a leather vest with a fur lining, and they wanted $1,700 for that. I'm like, far out. It doesn't cost that much. You could go to Langlet's Leather and get a beautiful jacket and pair of pants, tailor-made, for $1,700. So Papao. Anyway, so this is merino, silk, and possum, and it's got the lightest of blooms, and when knitted up, it's just got that very slight fur on it, which I just think is delightful. So looking forward to that. And the other thing that I picked up whilst I was in New Zealand Fabrics and Yarns is these two hand-dyed one-off sock yarns as well, 100% merino, and they were hand-dyed by Waihipi, and Y is representing, oh, you know what, I'll let the person tell their story now. Just go over there. Boop.
We're at New Zealand Fabrics and Yarn. My name is Sher, I'm store manager. You can find me on Instagram as Waihipi, and Yarn as, what is it, Wool Fairy on, what's it called? Revelry. That place.
Revelry, where we all hang out.
Yeah, where we all hang out. So I dye yarn for the shop, which is exclusive for New Zealand Fabrics and Yarn. This is Waihipi here. It's got a little sheep logo that I designed. So this sheep here, why is this sheep got fairy wings? Well, this sheep here is a little sheep from Waiheke. You can find her on Facebook, Multi the sheep. She is a protesting sheep. She's trying to stop marinas on Waiheke Island. We successfully stopped one at Matiatia, and we're now trying to stop the progress of one in Kennedy Point. And she's quite a well-known personality of Waiheke Island. And why fairy wings? Well, I was known for many years. I had my own business, Waiheke Wings and Wild Things, in the 90s, and I used to dress up as a fairy every weekend into the Austin markets and float around New Zealand selling my wares. And sold my wings internationally as well. So that is why the sheep has fairy wings. So and hipi is that is Māori for sheep, and Y is the beginning of Waiheke, and it's kind of a play on words because a lot of my friends call me a Waihipi.
So this is a beautiful store. Could you just, in case somebody's visiting Auckland, could you just tell us how do we find you?
You find us at the bottom of Queen Street, near. We're in the Queen's Arcade near Marbeck's. Marbeck's is a record store that's been going since 1934, so it's one of the original stores of the arcade. And so we're tucked in the little arcade. It's a little L-shaped arcade right down the bottom of Queen Street. So that's where you can find us.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that I found this place. Isn't she lovely? Shopping with her was just amazing. She was so good. She took me through patterns, and she just kept on throwing cowl after scarf after shawl at me, and just going, what did you think about this? What do you think about this? This was made with this, and da-da-da-da. And her enthusiasm was just wonderful. So I cannot recommend that store enough, and I gave them a really good review on Google. So this is really tightly spun yarn, and it's got a lovely feel to it. So I've not knitted socks yet, but now I've got yarn for 2 lovely pairs of socks. So I'm looking forward to that. And then of course I had to go back to the store, and I also picked up just some more possum yarn, and this is from the fine people at Outlaw Yarns, again another New Zealand yarn, and it's got again that very light bloom to it, but I thought these two would go nicely together in a scarf or a hat or something lovely like that. So really happy with the store in town. Whilst we're talking about New Zealand yarns, let's not forget the Soccer-Matician yarns are also made, manufactured and created in New Zealand as well. And these are one-off, so if you're looking to get the Soccer-Matician yarns, it is worthwhile going to the Soccer-Matician's site. I'll put a link below where you can pick up these yarns as well, but they're beautiful. So if you see them in a store, grab some, because they are limited edition. However, I was able to buy some direct from the manufacturer as well. And remember that funds from this are going towards HIV and AIDS care and research and all of that good stuff, as you will remember from my podcast with Nathan when we talked about that. But again, another beautiful beautiful yarn. I'm just gonna have to get my glasses, sorry, excuse me, because I don't remember the actual mix of this. So it's natural fiber yarn with possum and merino, but it's recycled. So it's a little bit of everything that has gone into this, but the colorways are just moody and so lovely. What else was going on one of the days? So the reason I went to New Zealand was because I was actually teaching some sexual health stuff at the International STI conference, and it was kind of interesting. So I did some public knitting. There, and some people find it a bit weird, and some people are really great about it. On my flight home yesterday, I had the most wonderful stewardess who has just got into knitting, and she was explaining to me that everything was so tight, and I said, look, you're just gonna have to relax and pick a style of tension. And she was really kind and wonderful. Like she was oohing and ahhing over the piece that I'm doing, and I'm midway through this is the pause, so this is the last section of the Steve West knit along. So it's coming along. I'm probably got another 2 weeks worth of knitting left in it, and it'll be done, but it's nearly there. But she was really lovely on the plane, and what I'm really happy about is that I was able to talk to her about some local knitting places here in Melbourne where she can get some one-on-one classes just to get her technique down, and that way she can start getting the practice in that will enable her to feel more confident. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's worth supporting our local yarn stores, because they do help us in our in education and passing on techniques and bringing in fantastic teachers as well. So here in Melbourne, we've been lucky. We've had Nathan Taylor, we've had Mary Jane Muckle, the Queen of Argyle. She was wonderful. I had a lovely knit along with her. So I'm just really making sure that I'm keeping my finger on the pulse to know who's coming, and that's great. One other yarn store that I visited in Auckland was a little bit out in the suburbs, called Knit and Stitch. It's an interesting place because it's clearly like it's in the bottom of a house on a street, where you'd expect Neighbours or Shortland Street or whatever insert local soap opera here. But the staff there were really friendly. And again, they had a lovely selection of yarns. I ended up buying some beautiful Uruguayan merino yarn, and it's this beautiful blue with black tones, and it's mulled as well, so that the blues goes to black, and it's going to be, my plan is that this is going to be a vest that I can wear with my work gear, and I'm really, again, it's just so soft and squidgy, so that was a well worth trip out to the suburbs. And she had a lovely selection of New Zealand yarns as well as some foreign yarns, good heaps of notions, and some really good books as well, including the Nathan Taylor, his latest book on men knitting. So it's been a really great few days, and it was like, if you're in New Zealand, you must save some space inside your luggage for all of these beautiful New Zealand yarns, because they're lovely, and I can't wait to show you the finished objects when they're done. What are other fun things that have been happening? Stephen West, he had a sample sale. So it did involve me having to set an alarm and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be able to peruse and to buy. But I'm really stoked that I was able to actually buy 2 of Stephen's shawls. And yes, I know there's purists out there going, oh, you should knit them yourself. But I respect Stephen as a designer, and I really do like his designs. And I think it's a really nice thing to own 2 pieces that were made by him. Now, of course, they could have been knitted by a sample knitter, but as far as I'm concerned, they were hand knitted by him. And that gives me a smile, and it motivates me to be able to think, well, I need to just gently keep on knitting, and that way I will have my own stash of samples that one day I'll go, oh, I'll just have to have a giveaway or a sale or something. Other fun things is I'm halfway through this beautiful marled pride flag. So this is a triangle, and the plan is that it's going to probably actually go that way, and there's going to be a big pink triangle at this part and another triangle on the side. So it'll be 2 quarters and a half, and this is going to hang in my work on the wall. And you can see that, yeah, it's, red, orange, yellow. The yellow and the green are an interesting green, blue, purple. And with this, I was basically knitting the grey background, which was a DK merino, and then I had 2 fingering weight strands of the pride colours, and you can sort of see here that you've got the red, and then you've got the red and the orange, and then the orange, and then the orange and the yellow, and then the yellow, and you know how it works. You know marling. You know marling. But that's another project that I really want to finish, because I want to have something that's pride on my wall at work, because I'm a sexual health physician, and that way people will know that when they come into my room that it's a safe space for them, and that they're welcome, and that they can talk about whatever they like. And those who don't recognise the pride flag won't recognise it, and they'll just go, oh, that's some faggoty knitted shit on the wall. I wonder who made that. And then I can go, I did. So there you go. That's been my amazing weekend in New Zealand. How has your week been? Have you had a fun week? What objects have you got on the needles, or do you have any finished objects from this week? I would love to hear I'd love to hear from you. Let us know how your week has been. Have a rocking, amazing week, and lots of love, and keep on knitting from Melbourne, Australia.